Hey, what's going on, guys? It is PG-13 Hockey Man here, and I sent out a community post asking if you guys wanted to see me do a tier list for the reverse retro jerseys, and you guys spoke, and I'm doing it right now. Uh, I'm going to go through the team's alphabetical order, and this is my personal opinion. It is not any reflection on how I view your team. It is just the appearance of these jerseys and where I find them to be in my taste, I guess, if that makes any sense. So starting off with the Anaheim Ducks, I do not like these jerseys whatsoever. The Mighty Ducks theme is not bad, but I have never liked the jumping Wild Wing jersey. That I think was way too cartoony, and it doesn't belong on a pro scale uh, NHL team. Doesn't deserve to be in the pros. If they went with, say, if their 25th anniversary uniforms were their reverse retros, I mean, I could see that, but I absolutely hate the flying Wild Wing. Next up, the Arizona Coyotes. I'm not the biggest fan of the Kachina. Um, I mean, a lot of people do. The regular home jersey is fine, but the reverse retro, or at the time the alternate with the sand and the cactus, I do not like it. I think it's a D. I am like, you can't put sand and cacti on socks, and I'm one that likes to have their uniforms match, like the jerseys match the socks, and there's no way that, and I know they didn't do it, the socks match, but I don't like the design on the bottom of the jersey. Next, the Boston Bruins. They have a lot of jerseys in their history, um, and they went with the older logo. I do like the striping. It is very simple, but in terms of retroness, they didn't use that. They only used that exact striping for their white jerseys, and there's nothing on the shoulders. Usually, Boston has like stripes, or the shoulders are colored. But since I like the striping, I'll put it at C. It's pretty average. All right. Next, the Buffalo Sabres. Now, I'm a huge fan of their rebrand. I love their new home jersey. Their away jersey is also nice, although I am a little nitpicky that the stripes inverse on the jersey. That's fine. The reverse retro is pretty nice as well. It's simple. It's like the standard thick stripe out with two stripes on the outside. It's unique that they put buffalo in it, and I'm not the biggest fan of the logo that they chose. Obviously, it's their sabers because the saber is a sword, but I would rather see the buffalo head. Um, I guess it's hard for me to see that logo because I don't see a bison or buffalo because obviously they're from Buffalo. But I think it's pretty good overall, or it's kind of average actually, since I'm putting it in C. All right, next, Calgary Flames. Blasty has returned, and I think Blasty's a good logo. I wouldn't use it as a primary logo, but like a reverse retro, it's fine. But I think they went way too simple with their striping. It's only just two thin stripes, one red, one yellow. It's pretty average. But I'm glad that they went with the black jersey. All right. The Carolina Hurricanes going with the Hartford Whalers look. Instant A. I love that Carolina is paying homage to the Hartford Whalers. Hartford's got pretty good uniforms. And Carolina is just bringing them back. And every time I see it, I instantly think of Brass Bonanza in my head. Honestly, I know it's never going to happen, but it's just funny to think Hartford having a team of their own and then seeing the jerseys every single night. But it's never going to happen. But I'm glad that Carolina went that way. All right, next, the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, looking at this, I'm kind of getting like Winter Classic 09, obviously from the logo. But Chicago has never really done shoulder striping or shoulder colors, which I think in this way is a really nice. It's a nice choice, and I could actually see, even though it's simple, I'm a fan of simple looks, and it's given me a little bit Minnesota vibes. Because the Wild used to have a red jersey from 2007 to 2017, their home jersey. Obviously, colors are not the same, and like it's not the same as the Wild, but it looks simple, and I love it. It's not an A. I think it's a solid B. Could have done a little bit more, but I love the simplistic look. All right, next, Colorado Avalanche. Paying homage to the Quebec Nordiques. I love it. The fact that they use their own colors to the Nordiques jerseys, that is, I think, the definition of reverse retro. It's modernizing an old look. That's exactly what it is. All right, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, they've only been in the league for 20 years. So they don't have much to do when it comes to retro stuff. But what they did, I deem okay. I'm not a fan of that logo. I love their current logo with the star and the Ohio State flag. This is the first time they've actually had a red jersey. And usually I would be really happy to see them in red, but I think it's throwing me off a little bit because of that logo. So it's a D for me. All right, the Dallas Stars. Now, they are not the ones going with the North Stars look. That's Minnesota, and we'll get to that. But Dallas went with their jerseys that went with when they won the Stanley Cup, or similar to that. Making it an all-white set with not much striping. There's a serious lack of color. They could have done something completely different. I am not a fan of this whatsoever. That's an F. Oh, and speaking of Fs, Detroit. They didn't even try to go with the reverse retro. They could have gone something similar to some of their winter classics that they've had, because those are inspired from their other vintage jerseys. They just took their home jersey, turned it white, and made the stripe gray. That is very, very lazy. That is by far the most boring reverse retro jersey in the history of the NHL. All right, next, the Edmonton Oilers. I'm actually a big fan that the Oilers inversed their colors on their away jerseys for this and used the royal blue. Connor McDavid looks so good in this. I'm going to throw it. I don't think it's A worthy, but it is like a very high B. It's like on the cusp of A and B. All right, next, the Florida Panthers. This looks so good on the ice. I love the striping that they've done and the fact that the shoulder and the arms kind of make up that triangle shape, I guess. It's an A, and I love the Jumping Panther logo. All right, the Los Angeles Kings. I've actually seen them wear this before because obviously I watched the Wild, and when the Wild and the Kings wore their reverse retros, when the Wild were at home, I thought it looked really, really nice. They're combining the 90s look with one of their original looks. And the combination is royal. It literally looks like royalty. So for that, it's an A. My team, the Minnesota Wild, it's an A. Call me biased all you want, but you got to give respect to the Wild. We own the Minnesota North Stars brand. Dallas has done nothing for the Minnesota North Stars. I do own the Wild's reverse retro jersey, and it is really nice. Throwing it back to 1978, and in the collar it does say MIN 78. I guess there is only one thing I would ever change, and that is the outline on the logo. It's yellow. I would prefer it to be the white. But I could see why. I know why that they did the yellow. It's because white on white is not the best for outlining. Next, the Montreal Canadiens. Absolutely love it. That is an A. The Montreal Canadiens are an old team. They're the oldest team. And I love their home jersey, and I've dreamed that I would want them always to have an alternate that looked exactly like this. And now that they have it, I don't want it to leave. Make this their alternate. I want Montreal to make this their alternate. A lot of people have said it, and they're not wrong. All right, next, the New Jersey Devils. I'm throwing it in B. I like the way that New Jersey has done their retros, because they started off with the red, then they did the white, and now they're going green, which they never used green. For me, it does throw me off a little bit that they're using green and red because that's the Wild's colors. But their reverse retro, it's nice. I would love to see a black version, though. I think that would be really cool. All right, next, the Nashville Predators. I am not a fan of the 07 look for Nashville. Obviously, Nashville doesn't have a lot of years in the NHL. But I think they could have done something better because their first jerseys, I'm not a fan of their original jerseys or their new jerseys for that matter. I think Nashville needs a whole new rebrand to kind of give themselves something. Like my favorite Nashville jersey, they hardly ever wore. It was their alternate from 2011. They could do something like that, or kind of go in the direction of their Winter Classic. Even though I'm not a fan of the text on the Winter Classic or the patch, their current logo, I want them to keep using, and I want them to use the yellow. But I think they could have done a blue jersey instead of yellow. Next, the New York Islanders. Now, they are an automatic F because they just turned their blue navy and they inversed the orange and the white. That is very, very lazy. That is not reverse retro. That is just lazy. All right, next, New York Rangers. Now, I love the Lady Liberty logo. And the navy is a good direction, but I think that they could have gone with a red jersey. It was like 07 where they had that alternate, like the original Lady Liberty alternate. And at one point they also had a white version. I think if they had the red version of that, it'd look really good. I think it's okay. It's a C. Ottawa Senators. I'm not the biggest fan of their rebrand. I don't like the 2D logo, but since they rebranded this year and the reverse retros came out this year, it's only fitting that their reverse retro is essentially an alternate for them. When I heard that Ottawa was rebranding and they were going to go back to the 2D logo, once the NHL announced that they were going to do reverse retros, I was like, okay, Ottawa better go red here. And they did. Because of that, they're a high B. Next, the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, their logo has never really changed. They've been around for a long time, but I love their current home and away. In the early 2000s, they did have the black jerseys with that pattern on the arms. I think it was good then, but I'm not sure about it now. But I think that they kind of mixed the orange alternate from the early 2000s, which matched then, to their black home jersey back then. I think it's a good mix. I think it's pretty average, though. I don't know what else they could do, because Philadelphia is pretty simple. Next, the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are a very high B. If anyone is in the Famous Goal Horns Discord channel or whatever, I put this in the top. I've since changed my mind because after thinking about it, I really wish that they went with the Robo Penguin. But I am a sucker for text going diagonal. That is hockey. That is old school hockey. I love it when teams use the diagonal text on the jersey. Now it was taken from the black jersey during the Yager era. And yeah, it's a good reverse retro. I wish they put Robo Penguin on the shoulders, though. Next, the San Jose Sharks. Now, they do have a retro uniform set that they use on a throwback night. But their reverse retro is separate from this. This reverse retro is taken from the early 2000s, not the early 90s. I'm more of a fan of the early 90s Sharks look. I don't like the 2000s look. Like if they had this back in the early 2000s, it would work then. But I think now, if they went with a black variation of the 91 jerseys, I think it could work. But to me, it's a D. All right, next, the St. Louis Blues. Again, once I heard that the NHL was doing a reverse retro, I was instantly thinking that St. Louis should go with a red variation of their uh, like Gretzky jerseys, I guess. Anytime I see this St. Louis Blues type of jersey, I instantly think of when Steve Yzerman absolutely ripped it from the blue line on them. But I love that it incorporates the staff of music, which St. Louis is a very musical, I guess, branded team. So for me, it's a B. I think it could be a little cool to see what they could have done if they went with one of their earlier looks. Next, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Going back to, kind of throwing it back to 2004 when they won the Stanley Cup. For that, I'm a big fan of that. Throwing in the B. I'm not the biggest fan of the early 2000s logo. I think that maybe they could use the jersey of this and of the early 2000s and put their current logo on that with the Tampa Bay on top of it. I'm just curious to see how that would look. Even though it's simple, sometimes simplicity is the best way to go. And I do have to throw shade on the fact that when they had the reverse retro night, that they used the Friends theme song as their goal song. No, 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 no. That is terrible song choice. All right, next, Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, an original 6 team. Gotta respect it. I think it's average. I just don't know what else they would go with because Toronto's been a very simple team. I don't like the font on the logo that they used. And also, that is very it's like a PNG type of leaf. I'm not biggest fan of it. All right, next, the Vancouver Canucks. I think the way Vancouver did this is pretty good. They're using their current colors and just put it on one of their old jerseys, essentially what a reverse retro does. I think gradient jerseys are unique. I think if the team does it well, it'll work. I think Vancouver does know how to do a gradient. Pittsburgh doesn't. But I think the way Vancouver did the gradient, I think was good. All right, the Vegas Golden Knights, the youngest team in the league. So when I saw this the first time, I instantly thought that they were copying the Calgary Flames. And I can't get that out of my head. I'm not the biggest. I don't like that they are using the secondary logo, but I guess they kind of have to. But their current uniform set is really, really good. I love the gray, the white, and the gold. Although I do wish that the gray was black, or that they have a black jersey. I think red I don't think is Vegas. Right next, the Washington Capitals. Essentially doing what Vancouver did, just taking their current colors and putting it on an old uniform. I love it. And Ovi rocked it. That is, even though it's not my favorite Washington logo, I would much rather have them use their current secondary logo, the one that's shaped in like the capital. This feels patriotic. All right, and lastly, the Winnipeg Jets. This is... Ugh. It literally looks like crap. Winnipeg has never had a gray jersey, and it's not even considered... I wouldn't consider it as a secondary color. I just think of it as an accent. Winnipeg could have gone red. I think that would look good. If they went red like Canada, they can make it work. But this is really throwing me off, and I absolutely hate it. My absolute favorite reverse retro is definitely the Montreal Canadiens. Literally, they should never get rid of it. That should be permanent. And my least favorite, the New York Islanders, because they did absolutely nothing. All right, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you like it, hit the like. If you're new, subscribe. I'm gonna do the current home, away, and alternate jerseys. Maybe I'll do goal horns and goal songs. But soon, in time, the goal horn request form will be up and live. That will be Monday, June 7th, starting at noon Central Time. All right. Have a good day.